Indian polity criticism of the Constitution. The Constitution of India, as framed and adopted by the Constitutional Assembly of the India, has been criticized on the following grounds. Number one, a borrowed constitution. The critics opened that the Indian constitution contains nothing new and the original. They describe it as a borrowed constitution or a bag of the borrowing or the hodgepodge constitution or a patchwork of the several documents of the one constitutions. However, this criticism is unfair and illogical. This is because the framers of the Constitution made necessary modifications in the features borrowed from the other constitution for their suitability to the Indian condition, at the same time avoiding their faults. While answering the above criticism in the Constituent Assembly, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chairman of the drafting committee, said, "One likes to ask whether there can be anything new in a constitution framed at this hour in the history of the world. More than 100 years have rolled over when the first written constitution was drafted. It has been followed by many countries reducing their constitution to the writing. What the scope of the constitution should be has long been settled. Similarly, what are the fundamentals of the constitution are recognized all over the world. Given these facts, all constitutions in their main provinces must look similar. The only new things, if there can be any, in a constitution framed so late in the day are the variations made to the remove the faults and to accommodate it to the needs of the country. The charge of the producing a blind copy of the constitution of the other countries is based, I am sure, on the inadequate study of the constitution. Number two, a carbon copy of the 1935 Act. The constitution have included the large number of the provinces of the government of the India Act of the 1935 into the constitution of the India. Hence, they call the constitution as a carbon copy of the 1935 Act or an amended version of the 1935 Act. For example, N. Srinivasan observed that the Indian Constitution is both in the language and the substance of a close copy of the Act of the 1935. Similarly, Sir Ivar Jennings, a British constitutionalist, said that the Constitution derives directly from the Government of the India Act of the 1935, from which in fact, many of the provisions are copied almost textually. Further, P.R. Deshmukh, a member of the Constituent Assembly, commented that the Constitution is essentially the Government of the India Act of the 1935 with the only Eden franchises added. The same Dr. B.R. Ambedkar answered the above criticism in the Constituent Assembly in the following way. As to the accusation that the draft constitution has reproduced a good part of the provisions of the Government of the India Act 1935, I make no apologies. There is nothing to be ashamed of in the borrowing. It involves no plagiarisms. Nobody holds any patent rights into the fundamental ideas of the Constitution. What I am sorry about is that the provinces taken from the Government of the India Act 1935 relates mostly to the details of the administration. Number 3. Un-Indian or the anti-Indian. According to the critics, the Indian Constitution is un-Indian or the anti-Indian because it does not reflect the political traditions and the spirit of the India. They said that the foreign nature of the Constitution make it unsuitable to the Indian situation or unworkable in the India. In this context, K. Hanumanthaya, a member of the Constitution Assembly, commented, "We wanted the music of the Veena or the sitar, but here we have the music of the England's band. That was because our constitution makers were educated that way." Similarly, Loknath Mishra, another member of the Constitution Assembly, criticized the Constitution as a slavish imitation of the West, much more a slavish surrender to the West. Further, Lakshminarayan Sahu, also a member of the Constituent Assembly, observed the ideas on which the draft constitution is framed have no manifest relation to the fundamental spirit of the India. This constitution would not prove suitable and would break down soon after being brought into the operation. Number 4. An un-Gandhian constitution. According to the critics, the Indian constitution is un-Gandhian because it does not contain the philosophy and ideas of the Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the Indian nation. They opined that the constitution should have been the raised and built upon the village panchayats and district panchayats. In this context, the same member of the Constitutional Assembly, K. Hanumanthian, said that is exactly the kind of the constitution Mahatma Gandhi did not want and did not envisage. T. Prakashanam, another member of the Constitutional Assembly, attributed these snaps of the Ambedkar's non-participation in the Gandhian movement and the antagonism towards the Gandhian ideas. Number 5. Elephantian size. The critics stated that the Indian constitution is too bulky and too detailed and contains some unnecessary elements. Sir Ivor Jennings, a British constitutionalist, observed that the provinces borrowed were not always well selected and that the constitution, generally speaking, was too long and complicated. In this context, H.V. Kamath, a member of the Constitutional Assembly, commented, the emblem and the crest that we have selected for our assembly is an elephant. It is perhaps into the consonance with that our constitution too is the bulkiest that the world has produced. He also said, I am sure the House does not agree that we should make the constitution and the elephantian one. Number 6. Paradise of the lawyers. According to the critics, the Indian constitution is too legalistic and very complicated. They opined that the legal language and the phraseology adopted into the constitution makes it a complex document. The same Sir Ivor Jennings called it a lawyer's paradise. In this context, H.K. Maheshwari, a member of the Constitutional Assembly, observed the draft tends to make people more litigious, more inclined to go to the law courts, less truthful, and less likely to follow the methods of the truth and the non-violence. If I may say so, the draft is really a lawyer's paradise. It opens up the vast avenue to the litigation and will give our able to ingenious lawyers plenty of work to do. Similarly, P.R. Deshmukh, another member of the Constitutional Assembly, said, I should, however, like to say that the draft of the articles that have been brought before the House by the Dr. Ambedkar seems to my mind to be the far too ponderous, like the ponderous tomes of the law manual. A document dealing with the constitution hardly uses so much of the padding and so much verbiage. Perhaps it is difficult for them to compose a document which should be, to my mind, not a law manual but a socio-political document, a vibrating, pulsating, and life-giving document. But to our misfortune, that was not to be, and we have been burdened with so much of the words, and words, which could have been very easily eliminated. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.